Once upon a time, in an African village lived a small peasant girl named Sandy. She was a scrawny little thing and wore the ugliest clothes. One day, her father died of a lion attack, so her father's sister and daughters had to take care of her. They were brutal to her. Every morning she would hear, "Get up, stupid, make my bed. Where's my breakfast?" The only place where she could get quiet was by the creek where the fish swim and the frogs play. One day, the prince was having a party at his barn. She wanted to go, but she couldn't, mostly because she had to get her cousins ready and do all her chores. An hour later, after her aunt and cousins left, she went down to the creek and she cried and cried and cried. A little fish came up to her and asked, "What's wrong? A pretty girl like you should be at the party." Sandy picked up the fish. "Help!" choked the fish. Sandy quickly realized he needed water, so she dropped him. The fish swam to his home and got his magic sand. "Close your eyes and count to 3, he said, throwing the sand on her. 1, 2, ouch! 3. When she opened her eyes, she was wearing shorts, a tank top, and sandals, and had sand in her mouth. "Sorry," apologized the fish. "That's my magic summer vacation sand. Let's try again." She closed her eyes and counted to 3. This time, when she opened her eyes, she was in the silkiest dress with the prettiest jewels and wore a small ring with a shiny pearl. "Thank you," she said to the fish. "Now, little girl, go get me 2 little frogs from the pond and a water jar." When Sandy returned with those 3 things, the fish began to chant, "Tumba-zing, tumba-zoo," and the little frogs became 2 majestic donkeys. The water jar became a shiny new cart. Sandy climbed on the cart and went to the party. The prince was having the worst time. He tried talking to the girls, but they kept laughing like hyenas. The prince walked away, feeling annoyed. When Sandy came to the door, the prince ran to her. "Well, hi there, would you like to dance?" asked the prince. "Sure," answered Sandy, so they danced and drank goat milk. "Look at them. The prince didn't even talk to us," said the 2 cousins. The prince had such a great time that he was going to ask Sandy to marry him. The prince walked Sandy to an old lake behind his barn. He turned around thinking of what to say, when all of a sudden, Sandy's clothes began to change back into rags. Sandy jumped into the bushes before the prince could see her. When he turned around, he couldn't find her anywhere. It turns out that the fish forgot to tell Sandy that the spell doesn't work after midnight. He turned himself into a blueberry and said, "I forgot to tell you, the spell doesn't work after midnight. That would explain why I'm in these ugly clothes." The prince, on the other hand, was very sad. He thought she had ran away from him. When Sandy was running home, she dropped her small ring on the ground. She would have gone back to get it, but the prince was coming. The prince saw a ring on the ground. He smiled and picked it up. He made an announcement that he could come to each house to find the girl that fitted. The prince tried it on almost every girl in the village but 3. When he saw the 2 cousins, he got a little scared because they were the 2 mean girls who laughed like hyenas. He was glad when the ring didn't fit them. "Are you sure no one else is here?" asked the prince. Sandy stayed in her room. Sandy knew if she showed her face, her aunt would beat her so hard that there would still be marks in 20 years. As the prince left, she was already out the window and halfway down the side of the house. She yelled for the prince. He turned around and he knew who she was. "Could you try on this ring for me? I would be honored." The aunt and the 2 cousins were standing on the front step yelling, "No!" When they saw that the ring fit, they started crying. When the prince saw it too, he said, "Will you marry me?" "I don't really know you," answered Sandy. "Let's just date and see how things go." "That's cool," said the prince, smiling. The end.